I know it's a kids show, but you'd think the writers would put some effort into learning about actual rescue work. Hi! Okay, so is Cade a true fireman? Is Chief Burns a good cop? What is Graham's job exactly? And is Danny a good rescue pilot?
Chief Burns, police chief. It's in the name. First off, is he properly equipped for his job? Most cops have a gun, taser, bat, pepper spray, cuffs, body camera, surgical gloves, baton, and radio, and that's just when everything's calm. Chief Burns carries a radio and has a pouch that may hold either a taser or pepper spray. Oddly enough, we don't know because he never uses it, even in situations that call for it. And well, he does carry cuffs though. He may be opting for gunless law because his town has such a low crime rate. It isn't illegal as far as I know. We also theorize that he may have a negative view of guns because his wife died as a military officer and didn't want that to happen again.
Spoilers.
Another reason is because the target audience are small children, and Hollywood thinks showing a gun, even if he never uses it, is going to turn them into violent criminals. Somehow the criminals surrender despite having an easy escape path and nothing to fear, because they're surrounded.
Hold it right there! Colonel Corey, we have you surrounded. You are under arrest.
Secondly, does he do his job? He redirects traffic to prevent accidents, arrests criminals, and removes people from active scenes. Good. Now into the bad stuff. Don is a repeat offender of reckless driving. He has multiple tickets issued over the course of the series. Griffin Rock is stated to be an island off the coast of Maine. So that'll be important for our next statement. A speeding ticket in Maine exceeding less than 15 miles per hour leads to 4 points, which while a ticket more than 15 miles per hour but less than 30 miles per hour leads to 6 points on your record. Your driver's license will be suspended for 15 days if you receive 12 points in a single year. A person at 30 miles per hour over the speed limit will be charged with criminal speeding. If convicted, he will either be imprisoned for 6 months, fined $1,000, get a 1-year probation, or have his license suspended for 30 days. Habitual violators, if convicted, will never see their license ever again. Chief Burns gives warnings and tickets, and that's it. Don even gets away with driving off before he's given the ticket. He never should have been. He's never taken to court. Don should not have a license. If someone gets hurt by Don speeding, then Chief Burns will be held accountable on negligence charges, with Chase bringing the strongest evidence. Chief Burns himself also commits several crimes: breaking and entering, search and seizure without a warrant, arresting outside his jurisdiction, contamination of evidence, and burglary, all in the same episode. Most of this could be avoided if he got a warrant, and because he didn't get a warrant, not only would the case be dismissed, but he would be arrested alongside his family. He will lose his badge and live out his days in prison. But this is a kid show. Cade Burns, the fire chief. Is he a good firefighter? First, is he properly equipped? Standard fireman equipment include a helmet, gloves, boots, turnout coat, and pants. Walkie-talkie, breathing apparatus, and a pass, which is a specialized GPS that a firefighter uses if they need help. When it comes to tools, it would be easier to list off all the ones he does have: hose, fire truck, and fire extinguisher. They never track people through their comlinks, so it functions more like a walkie-talkie. We also see that there's a few pieces of standard exercise equipment. He's missing the breathing apparatus and the pass. The breathing mask is standard equipment to allow him to breathe in a burning building and protect his face from the flames. Without it, he'll suffer from smoke inhalation and melt his face off. The pass is used to locate a fallen or trapped firefighter by either push of a button or by not moving for a while. If he were to pass out, then he wouldn't be able to tell someone where he is and would die. We also see that before Heatwave comes along, his equipment hasn't been updated. He's been working with a truck that needs to be put down. He's also a single-man team, whereas the minimum number of firemen required is 5. Heatwave counts as 3 at most.
Because, in spite of your reputations as risk-takers, I know you're both capable and careful.
Firemen until the age of 18. We honestly don't know how many firemen there were before Cade, but considering Cade is the only fireman when the show starts, it wouldn't be a stretch to say that the last one had retired not long before the start of the show. His mentor likely being between 45 and 60, which is a retirement age. Cade would have been a volunteer fireman until he graduated high school. Without a high school diploma or GED, he wouldn't have become a full-fledged fireman. Cade would have needed to do all this before the age of 20, when the show starts, possibly even getting an online bachelor's degree in fire science during the show. Not only that, but he has mechanical know-how. He rebuilt his 1950s fire truck from scratch after it was blown up in the second episode. Plus, in the alternate timeline episodes, Cade, Graham, and Danny worked together to build a massive vehicle to help fight against Dr. Morocco, and Cade continued to work on it after it was pulled into the original timeline. Cade exhibits several different forms of intelligence throughout the show. But does that make him any good? Despite not having most of his equipment, he's really good at his job. He has no fear of flames, can carry a hose by himself, and can carry a fat person out of a burning building, hold up a collapsing cave, and understands both basic regulations and chemicals.
It's an important part of being a well-trained EMT.
I am impressed by your dedication, Cade. 1027.
Oh, I've got it. Vehicle registration request. Am I right? I'm guessing the sparks from the welding set something off. There. Must have been gasoline on the outside of that can. Caught the sparks, lit the rags,
And spread to the lumber.
gas pipes. Good thing those didn't catch. That is a live gas line. You need to have your equipment at least 30 feet away from this building.
2 people are required to hold an active hose, and he does that by himself. Heatwave can only do so much, and given the things that he's been through, he should be crippled or dead. But this is a kid's show. The only thing he does wrong is carry the fat person instead of dragging him along the ground. That fire is close to a few thousand degrees, roasting both of them. But it's a kid's show. They don't expect their audience to know any better. He also helps with arrests and knows the police codes better than Chief Burns does. When you look at all of his feats as a whole, you get a lot of competence and risk for very little reward. So he's a really good fireman, despite being under-equipped and understaffed. As you will know in a minute, Danny is not my favorite character.
Danny Burns, the rescue pilot. Is she a good pilot? First, is she properly equipped? Standard rescue pilot equipment includes backboards, leaders, and stretchers, ladders, ropes, and rescue nets, helicopter hoist gear, ice rescue equipment, ring buoys, and medical equipment, rubber dinghies, emergency rations, and survival radio equipment. They wear exposure suits and occasionally helmets with headsets. She is missing a massive chunk of gear, and most of what she hasn't been updated either. Most of the gear she needs wouldn't fit in Blades anyway. Blades is too small for the rescues he's assigned to. She is also understaffed as she requires 2 other team members, a crew chief and a paramedic. If Danny is hurt on the jobs, Blades will be unable to help her. Sometimes helicopters use a scoop claw. A scoop claw is designed to scoop up water or dirt and douse a forest fire. She used it for literally everything else and then got stuck in a forest fire.
A boulder as big as a house is coming right down on top of you! We can't stay here. Which way to the road? Maybe we should ride out the fire inside, Blades.
I can handle the heat, but you two would bake inside me like snickerdoodles.
So that cliff is our only way out? We don't have the equipment to scale it. Sure we do.
Here we go. Activate the winch.
You do it.
So she doesn't even know what half the emergency equipment is for. Due to how she used the scoop claw, it's a miracle that she didn't put blades in traction. Unlike Cade, she mostly uses the treadmill and climbing wall for exercise. Both awesome exercises for a pilot as it builds up muscle endurance and heart strength, so she gets a point for that. She is not a good pilot. Quick Shadow indirectly points out that Danny isn't the most observant, a bad trait for a rescue pilot.
What if something goes wrong? It won't. You'll spot problems before they occur and prevent them, as I know you always do. Well, usually.
She is reckless, stubborn, and literally has no idea what she is doing. Our brother pointed out to us while we were rewatching the Danny in Space episode that she made a piloting mistake that would have gotten her killed.
That shows poor design. And construction.
Mayday, 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 all channels. 504 Foxtrot Tango losing altitude.
I think she put too many code words in there. And all of those... We're military, yes. But none of them had to do with the situation she was in.
Oh, the gears are jammed.
That's bad. It happened to me once.
I had just started flying and accidentally went into reverse and...
Reverse. Great idea, Blades.
That's not how helicopters work. Helicopters can't do a... can only go up to a small incline. They can never go into a negative incline. When they're flat, they have a slight incline. And they can angle their wings down to a higher incline, but they can never go into a positive or neutral incline. Space piloting, she did fine because there's not much you can really do when going up there and being up there. The only thing is checking sensors and making sure your maneuvering thrusters are working right. She would have died!
She does crazy stunts that would have never worked outside of a cartoon and abuses the steering rod.
Ready to shake things up a little?
I'm not sure I know what you...
Giant propellers! I am gonna be sick. Copter, stop, please!
It's Blades. And don't worry, a very good pilot showed me how to do this.
You think I take my anger out on you?
Cody speaks the truth. Take it from someone whose controls get a furious workout when you're mad.
I learned on my first and only piloting lesson that if you pull the steering rod too hard, the wing flaps will break and you will plummet to your death. Mind you, I was in a small plane, so the gas would have had to empty first. In a small plane, you have the choice to parachute to safety, not so a helicopter that's lost all steering. But because Blades can feel pain, he lets her know if she's pulling too hard, making it look like she's a good pilot to outsiders. She also flies dangerously close to things and testing her luck while calling it skill. You do not fly that close to wind turbines unless you have at least 5 years of training in stunt piloting. As she is a pilot, she could have gotten into it at any age as long as she could see out the window. She didn't truly start flying until after Graham got a job. He's 2 years younger than her, meaning it's been at least a year. She is still an amateur pilot. When she goes into space, it's been 5 years. You think she would have learned how to be a better pilot by now. But people keep praising her, so she is less inclined to improve. The military takes her on as a test pilot, but she is grossly underqualified for it due to not having any prior training in a military aircraft or simulator. You need at least 1,000 hours or 2 years in a 4th or 5th generation fighter aircraft. In any space program, you need a bachelor's degree in the STEM field on top of the 2 years of professional experience. So unless she's been studying like a maniac and flying non-stop, she shouldn't even qualify. But plot needed to happen. After the space piloting episode, the onboard cameras watching her would have caught her mistakes and she would have lost the job offer pretty quickly. I don't think the writers were aware that experimental ships have cameras in them to record in case something happened. That, and she would have gone to prison and piloting license revoked for stealing an experimental aircraft as a getaway vehicle for a heist.
Liberated item. Secure for takeoff.
Copy that, Spike.
You! Stop!
No time to chat. Just leaving. Bye now.
So it's a miracle she hasn't gotten herself killed, arrested, or getting Blades permanently hospitalized.
Graham Burns, the structural engineer. That's not a rescue position. Graham is working as a volunteer. The only thing he does that falls under his job title that could feasibly be considered rescue work is checking the structural integrity of bridges in the emergency shelters. And he doesn't even do a good job at that.
Looks like people would be safer outside this shelter.
Oh, termites. We're gonna have to rebuild all the supports in here. After we finish checking out the other shelters.
Be there in a few, Dad. Just finishing up an evacuation drill in the underground shelter.
Wait, which underground shelter?
A tunnel, under downtown, what's the big deal?
It's unstable. Boulder and I slated it to be reinforced.
He fails to inform Kate about the termites and gets a handful of people trapped in a cave. As a structural engineer, his talents are wasted on such a small town. As a rescue worker, he's decent. Volunteers don't really get paid much. So unless Cody isn't getting paid, Graham may be getting the least amount of money. And rescue workers do not get paid enough to begin with. Many rescue workers will cheer upon that statement. As long as Graham is stuck on Griffin Rock, he's not making any money. He's likely only getting paid per call and is given to him on a monthly basis for as little as $2 a call, meaning he's only being paid for every emergency he helps with. You're welcome to draw your own conclusions. As a rescue worker, he uses his bulldozer, which is also technically not a rescue vehicle, to do whatever the plot requires. Fire breaks, mow down trees, cover toxic spills, etc. Except Boulder doesn't need Graham to do all that. For the most part, Graham is a decoration.
Whoa, this machine almost drives itself.
Honestly, it would have been better had he become a paramedic helping Danny, which he would have gotten at 18. He does focus on getting a robotics engineering degree, which may help in some cases, but still isn't meant for rescues. So what does a structural engineer do? Well, this is actually the question. That started us down this little rabbit hole. Structural engineers design, plan, and oversee the construction of new buildings and bridges, or alterations and extensions to existing properties or other structures. In other words, they design the building stability so it doesn't cause future problems. It takes 4 years to get a bachelor's degree in civil or architectural engineering, which he already has by the start of the show at the age of 16. He would have needed to go to college around 12 years old in that case. That is insane genius levels. You can tell that the writers really didn't do their research. Now here's a series of scenes that would have actually involved his job.
The Sky Forest is structurally sound.
And the irrigation system is fully functional.
Because everything about our library is 100% recycled.
So yeah, Graham is wasted here. This gets fixed in the last episode when Optimus sends him with Boulder to build a new building that can house bots and people.
Boulder and Graham, you will remain in the Pacific Northwest and oversee the design and building of a community for both humans and bots.
Cody Burns, dispatcher. Is he good at his job? Cody has access to every camera in Griffin Rock. He is over-equipped. He sends everyone to the emergency and alerts them to any unforeseen issues. He's also a danger magnet when he's out in the field. It's probably a good idea to keep him behind a screen. So I think the better question is, does Cody get paid? The average pay for a volunteer is $20 an hour, though if he is being paid, it would be closer to $16 an hour due to his age and the size of the town. But the mayor has been known to cut corners, and Chief Burns may have had Cody doing this as a way to help his family. So either Cody is being paid and it's going directly to his dad's account and he's being given an allowance, which is fine. Our family does something similar. Or he's not being paid at all. And that would be an issue. If he's not being paid and Chief Burns is aware of it, then that shines a terrible light on his dad. If he's not being paid and his dad doesn't know that Cody is supposed to be paid, then that's all on the mayor. Given how dumb he is, I wouldn't be surprised if the mayor didn't know that Cody is supposed to be paid for this either. But we don't have anything to prove one way or the other.
Something else that we forgot to mention in this is the fact that they are legally required to have days off, but they don't. It is a requirement, and they don't have days off because of how few of them that there are. I mean, that's another thing about being understaffed. And especially highly, very stressful jobs like firemen, because they need time to recover from any damage they may have received from the job itself. It also gives them time to relax mentally so they can de-stress and maybe improve their diet if that's something that the fire department's been having.
Stress eating.
Go watch. Like you want to know all this. You want to learn more about firemen. Go watch Fire Department Chronicles. It's hilarious. So what we've discovered is that the Burns are understaffed and bad at communicating and should have died many times over. And that's what we got. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Bye.
Bye.